Up to 18 million Americans suffer from sleep apnea. Many of them don't know it. Now, a long-term study from the Mayo Clinic highlights the danger of this disorder.
The study shows that people with sleep apnea have a higher risk of dying from sudden cardiac arrest. Dr. Carol Ash is director of sleep medicine at Meridian Health, and she joins us at the table this morning. Start us off with who's most affected by it and what happens when you have it.
Well, surprisingly, Gail, many people do have this. Children can have it, and 16% of people who have sleep apnea aren't even obese. We think of obese people as having it.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. What happens when you go to sleep at night? The muscles in the throat relax. And what that does is that causes your airway to narrow. That's normal. But in some people, that narrowness goes beyond and collapses down. That's an apnea. If you stop breathing for 10 seconds, 5 times an hour, we say you have sleep apnea.
And it sounds like what?
Well, think of it as if you're being choked. So if you hear someone snoring, you hear, and then you hear, and then suddenly they'd stop. The noise would be silent. That's an apnea. When you're observing someone not breathing, you're saying, oh, thank God.
So what happens after you go through 10 seconds of not breathing?
Well, your brain finally realizes you're in a state of a respiratory emergency, and it reacts. It releases adrenaline. That pumps up the blood pressure, the heart rate. Inflammatory substances are released. That injures blood vessels, and over time you're at risk for sudden cardiac arrest.
Right, and this study shows it can increase risk for sudden cardiac arrest. So how do we fix this? You've got something with you.
Well, surprisingly, there's some simple treatments. CPAP is the gold standard, and it looks silly, but for people that have this, it can be life-saving. And essentially, it blows air into the back of the throat to hold the throat open. There's surgeries, there's weight loss.
But does that connect to something, say, by your bed?
Yes, it would connect to a machine that's almost like a vacuum cleaner motor in reverse. And the
Sounds so sexy, Carol.
It sounds
I
very
wish there was
sexy.
some way to make it a little more attractive, but go ahead. But it works.
But it does work. And
people who
unfortunately,
do this swear by it.
and
I've heard that.
it's so common, and unfortunately we fail to recognize it because we see people snoring all the time, and it's the butt of all jokes. You never laugh at somebody who couldn't hold peas on a fork if they had cerebral palsy. So snoring is a symptom. It can lead to this, and simply just identifying neck circumference and hypertension, 2 greatest predictors of the presence of sleep apnea.
Neck circumference.
Neck circumference.
Give
Believe
us
it or
some
not.
numbers, please. Like
16.5 for women, 17 for men. 30% of the time they will have sleep apnea. So link it with high blood pressure and easy to find. Tape measure, preventable, treatable.
Wow.
All right.
Good news.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, if we could just fix those maths. I'm thinking it's a birth control device. Nothing will happen in the bedroom wearing one of those. But you're alive, and that's the most important thing.
Exactly right.
Thank you, Dr. Ash.